Welcome to Policing TV. Each week we will explore the highlights from our latest videos, diving into topics like AI, technology, drugs, and the people shaping the future of policing. Monday's video detailed the highly anticipated Dragon's Den final that took place at Woodlands Manor. Out of more than 30 entrants, 4 finalists made it to the grand finale, with each presenting groundbreaking ideas designed to enhance policing and public safety.
Dragon's Den is a great initiative. It's looking to draw out innovation from all of our staff.
This is going to be a great event.
Our idea is a Bedfordshire Police app which can be downloadable to your mobile phone.
I think you're missing a trick on the money savings when it comes to your partners.
And the reason I don't see it as a problem.
It's been fantastic. So this is the second year I've done Dragon's Den for Bedfordshire now. I think the level of people that entered this year was exceptional.
You know, let's not forgetting Bedfordshire Police is an intelligence-led police force.
So I think the future of not just technology but also artificial intelligence is really starting to get explored.
Problem-solving application using artificial intelligence.
I think what will be interesting next year is I think there'll be more advances in force around some of our capabilities in the AI space and data management.
Our idea is hand guard. A typical a scene guard here, you can see in a 45-second clip there, quite boring.
I think it will be significant.
All ideas had a real mix of wanting to improve their area whilst acknowledging it would also help lots of other areas across the force.
So the initial research that we conducted found that no forces were using camera technology in this way to secure crime scenes.
All 4 entries were of such a high level.
So what we propose in its simplest form is essentially it's cameras or sensors on tripods using it to detect any intrusion attempt.
So well done to everyone who's here. I do not see this across the country at all. This is a real rarity. And that's why I've come here the last 2 years to actually be part of this. So you should all be justifiably proud of the sort of atmosphere within Bedfordshire, so well done.
Be in front of impressive people who've put a lot of energy and thought into bids, all of which had massive value. We could have supported any of them.
Every single entrant today was talking about how will the public feel about this type of technology, whether that was AI or non-AI. They were all thinking about how will the public react to this, what's the ethics that sit behind it. So it's really reassuring that it's not just an investment in technology for the sake of it, it's actually an investment in technology for the right reasons and with the good of the public in mind. Really impressed with the winners today. Wish them all the luck in the future. I genuinely think their idea is going to be huge.
On Tuesday, we heard from DCI Sarah Gilbertson, who discussed the challenges faced by officers in recognising coercive control and the collaboration with the Future Living charity to enhance understanding through survivor stories.
Part of my role is about looking at what we do in Hertfordshire and what we can do better. And something that was consistently being fed back to me was that our young in service and really overwhelmed frontline were not understanding the nuances of coercive control. And coercive control is a really tricky crime because it's not as obvious, and a lot of offenders are very subtle when they commit coercive control. So if you're assaulted, there's a bruise. If you commit criminal damage, there's something broken. And in a lot of cases, even our victims don't realise when they're a victim of coercive control. So if the victim doesn't realise, how are our officers going to realise? And you know, a lot of police training is done in a classroom. It's done with law and PowerPoints and texts in books, and I don't think that coercive control is something that can be trained in a classroom. So I started looking for another way of bringing it to life for our frontline officers. And that led me to work in partnership with a charity called Future Living and meet some of the survivors of domestic abuse who had been through their Monica programme, which is about empowering them to live a better life. Speaking with those ladies, thinking they were absolutely amazing, hearing their stories and understanding how the police contact that they had impacted on them as a person.
So coercive.
We also heard from Sergeant James Valle, who outlined his experiences as a police officer, focusing on the importance of lived experiences in training new officers.
When the lived-in experience first came about, I was asked by an officer if I'd like to attend because they wanted to get the perspective of obviously frontline officers, and I hadn't long moved from being a PC at the time, so they wanted to see what I could give. I went to one of the first sessions of it for the pilot scheme back on the 27th of March last year, 2024. The people that were being trained on the session were new officers that were in the sort of the first few weeks of their training, so they had never ever come across any of the information that was giving out in the pilot scheme. To them it was new. I was asked only really to attend to see if I could give them perspective, good or bad, so that they could obviously enhance it and improve it to keep rolling out the training. I sat sort of at the back of the room, but again, because it was for the new officers, the victims that came in gave their perspective of everything, good and bad. It was very interesting to hear some of the things they did have to say, because I think you can get, which I've mentioned before to people, is empathy fatigue, where you've been to something so many times before, maybe the same person, and you automatically as a human being, you might think, oh, it's that person again. Obviously as an officer you can't think that way. You've got to be looking at everything as a fresh new experience, or continuing on from what's happened, and give that person 110% every single time. Obviously because you do come across a lot of domestic related things, you can also go to a fresh new person and still have the wrong perspective on it, because you think, oh, I'm just there, I want to just fill in my risk assessment, doing all my work, and sort of get out of there and miss some of the really poignant key parts of being there. And those victims giving their opinions really showed that and highlighted it, because one of them in particular was a continuous victim who'd had lots of interaction with police, and they felt that lots had been missed and that things could have been done more to help them. They didn't really want to open up because they'd had some bad experiences as well, so that meant that next time when they gave out information, they held back a lot of it and they didn't get support that they needed.
Lastly, we also speak to Emma Fleming, CEO of Future Living Charity, and Detective Sergeant Charlotte Slaney, on a training programme designed for police officers in Hertfordshire, aimed at improving their understanding of domestic abuse and trauma.
To survivors of domestic abuse in Hertfordshire.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Slaney and I'm a Detective Sergeant with Hertfordshire Constabulary, working within safeguarding, and we've been working together on some of this training.
Yeah, so the training is delivered to obviously officers in Hertfordshire, and Future Living, we provide information around what domestic abuse is, what coercive control is, how that can really be demonstrated by victims, and also a lot about trauma and how actually victims, when police officers are attending a scene, they will be impacted by the trauma that they've been through, and how this might be seen by police officers, and how that might impact how they should engage with them.
And I'm there to facilitate the training from an operational point of view, so I assist with all of the sessions and sit in and answer the questions that officers might have about procedures and policies and those kind of topics.
And one of the key parts of the training is that we do have survivors of domestic abuse that are in the sessions with us, and they talk about their experiences, and they talk about what they went through before they called police out, what led them to call police, and actually what that engagement was like. And that ranges from kind of some quite negative experiences that we can learn about, but also through to what the positive experiences they had and what they were and why that made a difference to them and why that made them go forward with their prosecutions and moving forward with their cases.
And I think one of the...
Thursday, we heard from former Chief Constable John Gifford on the relevance of the existing 43 force structure. In this clip, we hear about the work he carried out to streamline the UK police forces.
Proposal from Dennis O'Connor, a former very senior police officer, was that there be mergers, amalgamations of forces, reducing the number from 43 through to 12,
well,
I think you said.
It wasn't specified how many there were to be. That was up to us to recommend. But we were given some constraints, one of which was you couldn't break up a force. So
and then it ran into the sand of politics that meant that it didn't proceed.
It ran into Charles Clarke being hoofed out as Home Secretary. I really liked working with him too. It was a great pleasure to work for him. But he got hoofed out because of after I'd retired actually, and so the whole thing disappeared into the mists of time.
Do you believe that the current 43 force structure remains relevant, given you have an insight not really very often, if ever, afforded to others?
No, true. There's truth to that. I have to say I think some of the smaller forces are weakened by the fact that they really can't do certain things. But maybe I would have thought the average size could have come down a bit from the 3,000. I know why Dennis did it, and he's an old friend of mine. And he was trying to make a very strong point that that's where they needed to get to, size-wise, and been forcing through. Then there was the financial side, because we made them do we got one of the universities to do a financial profile for us, and everybody had to fill in the financial profile to see what the savings would look like, which were quite significant from doing this, because you just get rid of headquarters, you get rid of a hell of an overhead. Two chiefs. One of the issues was who the hell was going to be the next chief? Who was going to be the chief of the West Midlands, for example? Because Paul Scottley and me here, and John Burbeck and whoever was at West Mercy at the time, and it would have been a bit of a fight between some of us. Some of us would have said thanks very much and we'll go, and others would have said no, we'll fight for it. And he might have been a chief, not in a chief's job.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next week.